Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Adoption Happy Hour, brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community by elevating our diverse voices, promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connection. We're so glad to have each and every one of you here tonight. We see a lot of familiar faces each Friday evening and a lot of new ones, so we appreciate you spending your time this evening with us. I'm Marcie Keithley, your host, along with Jennifer Falsing and Beth Sturry, both board members, helping out in the Zoom room. And let's check and see if we've got any board members with us. Other board members, let's see. Not yet. Barbara usually joins us, and possibly David. Okay. Before we get started, Jen, you want to go ahead and share a little bit? Again, this is our reminder that please remain muted during the presentation. You're welcome to leave comments or ask questions in the chat room. This is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and shared on our YouTube channel. If you are experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thought, please contact a licensed professional or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Okay. So at this time, we would like to go ahead and welcome Michelle McManus as our spotlight guest for this evening's episode of Happy Hour. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Michelle was born in Romania, so she's an international adoptee, and she's the founder of Baby Be Brave. So we're going to learn all about Michelle this evening, her personal story, her work in the community, and just get to know her a little bit better. So Michelle, with that, I'll go ahead and turn that over to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you seriously for having me, and thank you everyone who joined tonight. This is exciting. Okay, I guess I'll jump right in. So yes, I am an international adoptee. I was born in Romania, in Câmpulung, Romania, in 1988. The first 2 years of my life, I lived in an orphanage until I was adopted by an American family. I was told I was adopted by my adoptive father at 8 years old. That day obviously changed my life forever, hearing those words. And I believe my exact words to him were, "You mean my mom's not my real mom?" And it sounds so horrible by saying that, but I was also 8. I was a kid. I just was very confused. And I had a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. I was wondering, was I not good enough? Why didn't my mom want me? Did she not love me? The normal questions we have as adoptees. So, I didn't have any photos of my birth parents growing up. So I would basically stare in the mirror many times and try to, visualize what they might look like. So I would take features of myself and create images of them and, wonder, like, do I have my mom's eyes? Do I have my dad's nose? Who has darker hair? I mean, I'm blonde now, but I was born with dark hair. So like, who has the dark hair? And, growing up was really hard. I felt very isolated. I felt very lost and alone. I didn't understand why I felt the way I did. You don't piece it together when you're young. I just felt, like I said, just very lost and had so many questions. And my high school years were really hard for me. That's when it kind of started a lot. My depression started. I would cut myself, unfortunately, and I would figure maybe that would take the pain away. I would take my parents' pills from their medicine cabinet and take them, and fortunately I'm still here. Thank God it didn't work. But it was just really hard that I finally got to the point where I wanted answers. So I went searching for my birth mom. It was probably in my second year of high school. Legally, you have to wait till you're 18, but I reached out to the lawyer who brought me over on the plane from Romania, who handled my case. And he told me, come over to my house. I have all of your photos. I have your files. You can finally see what your birth mom looks like. And I was so excited that I could finally see what she looked like. So I brought a friend over with me and we went through all the files and mine was not there. I left very heartbroken. I really wanted to have answers, but I was determined to keep searching. So I reached out to a private investigator in the United States who did not have any luck finding my birth family. It took about a couple years until I finally got in contact with a private investigator in Romania who found my family in 3 weeks. And it's almost like a movie where like you have the phone with you the whole time, you take it everywhere you go, you sleep with it, everything, like to the point like you wait for that phone call. And I got to the point where I was like, it's not going to happen. It just, I guess it's too good to be true. It won't happen. So I put my phone away and that's when I got the call. And when I answered it, the lawyer or the PI said, Michelle, I found your birth mom. I found your family. And he actually asked me if I hung up because I was quiet for like 2 minutes because I was complete shock. So I was like, no, I'm still here. I'm still here. Don't hang up. So I was so excited because right before I went searching, I was really learning my culture and my language. And I was really studying the language because I thought if I could teach myself Romanian and I could learn the language and speak fluently, or enough to speak to my birth mother, she'll be so proud of me and we'll have that bond. But I went into the reunion or into the search thinking that she was going to welcome me with open arms. It turned out to be a rejection at the time. I was told that she wanted nothing to do with me, and that was really hard. But I also discovered I have a younger half brother and a younger half sister. The three of us have different fathers. They have the same father. My birth mother got married. So that was hard. That question went through my head of like, oh, why did she keep them and not me? Or did she love them more? And I also, sadly, I discovered that I am the product of rape. And it was sadly ironic because about a year before I found my birth mother, I was sexually assaulted myself. So I was able to connect with her on that level and give her empathy in that regard. I'm going to pause in case anybody has any questions or unless you want me to keep going, you let me know.
Please feel free to raise your virtual hand. Does everybody know how to do that? If you have any questions, or you can put them in the chat room, either way. Or she'll just keep going. Oh, Robin has a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Robin.
I'm there. I had to unmute myself. You had full siblings and you're the product of rape. So she married?
No. I have a half brother and a half sister.
Okay.
So my half brother and my half sister have the same father. I have a different father. Okay.
Yeah. All right. And now I'm up to speed. Sorry about that. I caught that wrong.
No, it could be confusing. I get it. Marcie, let me know and I'll continue.
Yes. Okay. Where did you say that you were born?
It's called Câmpulung, Romania. I was born right near the Carpathian Mountains in Argeș County.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. So of course that rejection was really hard for me. So I found out in July, it was in July, right in the summer. So at Christmas time, I decided to send my birth mother and my maternal grandparents, her parents, a Christmas card, and I put money in it just as a little Christmas gift. I heard nothing back from my birth mother. I wrote to her again for her birthday in February. And again, I sent her a Christmas card. I even wrote in Romanian, happy birthday. But again, I heard nothing. So I guess I took that as, okay, she really doesn't want anything to do with me. I guess I'll pull back. But it was about maybe a couple months later, I received a letter from my maternal grandfather and her father. And I was in complete shock that he wrote to me and he wanted a relationship with me. And it was really beautiful because he was my pen pal for a while. You know, we didn't write many letters because, of course, when you send letters internationally, it has to be, by the time you write it, you get it, you know, you bring it to the post office, it gets sent, it's like over a month, and then I have to get it translated, vice versa. So we maybe wrote like a couple letters a year for maybe a couple years, and then I didn't hear from him anymore. And so I tried to look up my half brother and my half sister on Facebook because I really want to know what happened to them, and I wanted to reach out to them. I searched for months, like, you know, with their names, it's very hard, like, you know, to put in, like, there's different spellings. So I was trying all these different spellings. That one night I was like, oh my gosh, I found them. I found, you know, my brother. So I sent him a message. I told him I wanted to connect and get to know each other. And then I asked him, you know, what happened to our grandfather, and to find out he passed away. So that I was sad, like the one person that wanted to talk to me passed away. But it, you know, it was nice that time I had, you know, with him, even though we didn't get a chance to meet, but it was nice to just connect with him on that level. So I started a relationship with my brother and my sister. I talked more with my brother. My sister had a baby. So when I found that out, I sent all these baby clothes and gifts to him, because I was an aunt. You know, I didn't get a chance to be an aunt, you know, physically, but I wanted to send him, you know, stuff. And then she sent me photos of him with his little jacket on, playing with the toy I sent him. So it was really nice. Trying to think what else. I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about your excitement about being an aunt.
Yes, yes. So he's very, very cute. So we just, I think, the next step to it. So yeah, we talked for a while, but it's very hard talking we talked through Facebook Messenger, and, you know, with the culture difference, you know, the time difference, there were just so many, you know, just the language barrier. You know, we can say, hi, how are you? And just say certain things, but it was hard to really get into a full conversation. And there were so many questions I had that I wanted to ask him about my birth mother, but I felt like it wasn't right for him to do that, to ask him, because that's not his, you know, he was raised with her. That's his mom. I know she's my mom too, but that's his mom. So I didn't want to put him in the middle and make anything awkward for him. So it was about 2 years ago, I actually decided to, there was a recent situation that made me cut all ties to Romania because it got so hard. And I'm going to show you the photo. It was, I was following my sister on Facebook, and she put a picture up of my birth mother and my nephew holding my nephew. And it was very triggering for me because my nephew looks just like me at that age. So I was basically seeing myself in her arms, and I got very emotional. And this was the photo of him and her. And like I said, I got very emotional, and I was like, I couldn't handle it anymore. So I completely cut ties with, I stopped talking to my half brother, which I feel really bad to do, but it's something I had to do because it was too hard. I probably should have given him an explanation, and hopefully one day I will explain more to him. So last spring, I was going to search for my birth father. I had his photo, I had his name, I had his information, where he lived, or like the village he lived in. But I didn't want to search for him because I wanted a relationship with him. I more wanted to search for him, to let him know, like, what you did, because of what you did to her, I'm here. You know, you hurt me, you caused me a lot of pain when I found that out. I even, sadly, I questioned myself as a person. I used to think, like, I'm half of his DNA. So what kind of person does that make me? And I know that's not true, of course, but I really was hard on myself. And then I also blame myself for my mom's rape, because I figured, I thought that my existence caused her so much pain because, and I know, again, it's not my fault, it's not her fault, But I caused her pain in like getting pregnant with me. And then when she went to go file charges against him, she had to drop the charges because he threatened her. And then because she decided to, I guess, have me, give birth to me, her relationship with her mother was really bad. She was kicked out of her home, so she had to find shelter with either her grandmother or different men. And honestly, to the day my grandmother passed away, they never spoke for all those years. They never mended the relationship, and it broke my heart that she never had that relationship with her mother because of me. And I like I said, I know it's not my fault, but those are the feelings I had towards myself because of it all. But after really thinking about my birth father and why I really should I go through with this, and then I also felt like if he threatened her years ago, the villages are so close to each other that I didn't want, if I were to reach out to him, I didn't want him to have to like put her in any danger. I was more concerned for her. Like, what if he approaches her or sends people over like to bother her and my siblings and the life that she created for herself that probably took a long time for her to heal and have the life she wants. And I didn't want to put any harm towards her. So I decided to pull back. But that's when last year during COVID, especially because we weren't able to be near our family and friends and go out, and I ended up going to a really bad depression, a very bad, I went into a dark place, and I was feeling very hopeless, and I almost took my life again because I just felt so alone and nobody could understand what I was going through. And then I was just laying there and I'm like, that can't be true. Like I had a conversation with myself. I was like, that can't be true. Like I guarantee there's people out there who struggle, who go through it, who need that support. So I decided to create Baby Be Brave, which is my community page. And at the time I created Baby Be Brave, it was not for adoption originally. It was more of just a place for people to come to for support, for friendship, just to know that you're not alone, that you can reach out to me and we can help each other through whatever together. And for last year, for November, National Adoption Awareness Month, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something nice for Adoption Awareness Month and do something. I wanted to bring awareness more. And the way I did it was I decided to host an IGT live series right through Instagram. And I had adoptees come on and share their adoption journeys to just show, not everyone has beautiful upbringing, or there is trauma in adoption. It's not all beautiful. And just hearing all these stories were just so, not that I saw it one-sided, but I saw it from my side. And I didn't realize, like, I had a beautiful upbringing with my parents. They did the best they could with what they had, and they gave me a beautiful life. But not everybody grew up that way. And I was just learning different stories and different journeys, and that's really what sparked my passion in working towards a nonprofit for adoption to include the whole triad, which is of course, the adoptees, adoptive parents, and the birth parents, because I want us to all unite together, because it's not one side versus the other in this. I want each other to listen, listen to the birth mother and the birth father, listen to the adoptive parents, because it's not easy for them either, and listen to the adoptees and find a way where we could all work together. And that's how I wanted to spread more awareness. So yeah. I will stop again.
Okay, let's see if we've got any questions. We're gonna stop here for a second. I know Jennifer's gone ahead and shared your contact information in the chat room. And you want to talk a little bit more about Baby Be Brave? I mean, you did mention that it started out, it really wasn't about adoption, but it grew to that. But yes, you just felt that need that you wanted to connect with others that were just, that had similar issues as you did. And you yes, wanted to develop some relationships there, and it kind of morphed into that. Is that correct?
Yes. So I ended up meeting, I met one adoptee. She was the first adoptee I ever met, my friend Allie, and we met through a mutual friend who's not adopted. And when I met Allie, then I just started meeting, I don't know how it all happened. It happened honestly so quickly, but I have this like little joke, like where you meet one adoptee, you meet like 20 more. And we just kept like meeting people and building. And I was like, this is just beautiful of how many people, you know, come on to these platforms and share their story and speak up and share, you know, their struggles, you know, and their healing. And it's just honestly, if I would not have found this community, I would not be sitting here right now. I would have given up. And I mean, I can't say how much, you know, they're not just like people where we like each other's stuff and we comment time to time. Like we built a friendship, we built a family. You know, there's so many, you know, whenever I go through certain moments or certain things come up, I can just text somebody, another adoptee friend, and say, I need to talk. And they're right there. And, you know, when I share what I'm feeling, I don't really have to go further into detail because they know, they get it. And it's so important that you find that tribe of people that get you. And it's just, yeah, I'm very grateful for the community. And that's why after last year, after I started doing the lives, I was just going to do it for the month of November, but I was like, why should I stop? I should continue to bring awareness to adoption and continue sharing these journeys. So that's why now my live series is called Brave Souls. And you know, I call it that because it takes a lot of bravery to be vulnerable, to share your journey. You know, there's still parts of my journey that I am still sharing that I didn't share before, because the more I feel comfortable and you know, people give me that safe space, I feel I'm like, okay, it's time to share that again, or now it's time to share this. And I feel more like I recently shared a picture of my birth mom on my page, which was a big deal for me because I couldn't do that last year. I shared my birth name, Mihaela, for the first time. And you know, it's weird when I say it out loud, and now like people are like, some people are calling me Mihaela, and I'm like, wait, me? So it's just nice. And I'm getting back into my culture. I'm learning Romanian again because I do want to visit. Well, this is why actually I'll lead into this next part. So about 2 months ago, I was going through my text messages and I was going to the message that the private investigator and I had from one who found my family in Romania. And I was opening something in my head just told me to go on my phone and go through our messages. I don't know why, but I was opening up all the attachments he sent me. And I opened this one attachment up and it was a letter from my birth mother that she wrote to me 10 years ago. And when I first saw it, I was like, I got very like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had very bad anxiety that I shut my phone and I did not look at the letter for about 2 weeks because I was really nervous. Because I decided last year to really put myself first and heal from my trauma. And, you know, with that journey, I have built so much self-love, so much acceptance, and so much confidence in myself that I've done so much work for myself that I didn't want whatever was in that letter. I didn't want it to ruin the work I've done or set me back into that dark place I was last year. So yeah, it took me about 2 weeks. I do see a hand up. I don't want to keep talking.
Yeah, Jenny, you want to go ahead and take yourself off mute?
Yeah, going back to that Instagram that you've been doing episodes, great job. My excitement is in seeing some of your past episodes, but I'm not sure how to get into the archives. Does the Instagram live series allow you to see previous interviews or something, or do I have to be there at the time?
No, well, I save them on my page right after. So all of my lives are on my page, but if you go to, I'm going to show you, if you go to your Instagram, if you go to my page, you know how it has like the little box with all the grids, and then it has like the little TV, and then it has the little box with the person in it across. If you go to the middle one with like the little wave, those where all the lives are. And you can just scroll, they're like right there. Can you see it? Like right there.
Yeah.
And you scroll down, like if you just keep going, It'll go all the way through all of the lives I've done.
So once I hit the live, it'll go into the actual episode.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks so
Yes.
much.
You're
That's
very
great.
welcome. You're welcome.
And you're not alone. Good job.
Oh.
way to make something positive out of your feelings from how badly you've gone through the hard times. You're totally not alone.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Michelle, I did receive a direct message, and one of our viewers is asking, do your adoptive parents know everything that you've gone through?
Oh,
You
that's a
keep them
good question.
informed on everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they don't know everything, honestly. Like I said, growing up, I didn't share with them what I felt because honestly, when you're younger, you don't know kind of the emotions you're feeling. You don't know how to express it. Going through high school, they do not know that I have tried to take my life. They don't know what I really went through. They know I went, searching because right before I went searching, I went to my adoptive mom and, she's a little emotional, so she's more emotional, when it comes to that stuff with my adoption. And I just didn't want her to feel bad. Like I was, so I basically went to her, I was like, Mom, I want to go searching for my birth mom, but if it's something that's going to hurt you, I won't do it. And I was serious. If it was going to make her sad, I didn't want her to feel like she wasn't enough. She didn't do enough for me. So, but she immediately said, no, it's okay. You should do it. But she doesn't know the whole story. She doesn't know that my birth mom rejected me. She doesn't know that I cut ties with Romania. She doesn't know about the search of my birth father. But there was one night where I decided to share with them my adoptive parents, of how my adoption affected me growing up. I gave them enough. I didn't go to the fullest because I feel like at least with my parents, some things are better left unsaid because I don't want to break their heart. Like if my mom knew that I tried to end my life, that would destroy her. And I feel like, you know what, there's some things I don't want to share with her just out of respect. But I share with them and, my mom's response, I was, oh, well, you were such a happy kid. Everybody loved you. And I was like, yeah, everyone might have loved me, but the problem was I didn't love myself. And that's why I struggled so much. And she's like, wow. It's like, they were very taken back by it. But they're not very emotional, like warm people where like you can sit and talk about your feelings and feel validated after. I felt like I just shared it. And then there was like no hugging. I never got a hug. I never got any kind of like validation that I just felt like, okay, why did I do it? I kind of regretted it a little bit, but it felt good for me personally. It just gave me more peace because I felt like I held on for so much for so long. I suffered in silence so long that me finally sharing how I feel and what I've been through and what I still go through is now bringing me more peace internally. That's to me, that's more important than anything. People are going to take it the way they want and not everyone's going to give you the feedback and the reaction you hope for. So I just, as long as I know I feel good about it personally, that's why I do it.
Okay, Michelle, I have another question.
Yeah.
Please ask if she was raised with adopted siblings, and how much do you remember of Romania?
So I was not raised with adopted siblings. I was raised with a brother that was my parents' biological son. He never made me feel like I was a misfit or he never referred to me as like, oh, my adopted sister. To him, I was his sister. And to me, he was my brother. We had a very good relationship. And as far as me remembering Romania, I don't. I left Romania at 2 years old, but I do, it's weird, but it's also very nice. I ended up doing this EMDR session, this therapy, where I had to let certain parts of my trauma, like ages that like trauma has affected me, I had to let that go. And for the longest time, I had this blocker, this wall put up of why I couldn't go further until I had this like epiphany one night. And I'm like, not only did my birth mother abandon me, I abandoned me in that orphanage. I left little me behind. So in this EMDR session, you have to go back, basically close your eyes and put yourself in that orphanage. And as I was I was in that meditation mode, or I don't know what kind of mode it's called, but I was like out, and I started hearing other children crying. I started feeling the bars of the crib between my hand. And then I started like the cold floors. I don't remember any of that right now. But in that session, I remembered everything. It felt so real. So yeah, when I guess when I go into those EMDR, I do remember more. And who knows when that time comes, I do go visit Romania and go places, memories may come back to me. But yeah.
Okay, Michelle, can you take us back? I know we moved around just a little bit. We jumped forward. Let's go back to the letter from your bio mom and bring us up to speed on what transpired after that and where you are today.
Yeah, so the letter from my birth mom. So yeah, I couldn't open it for 2 weeks. I was really, concerned for my own mental health of how I was going to take it and what was in there. Until I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's also an adoptee, and we were FaceTiming, and I started showing her a box of my photos of Romania, of my birth family and all my documents. And I wish this doesn't sound real, but I was going through the paperwork and I found the actual physical letter from my birth mother. And I've had this letter in my box for 10 years. And it really sounds unbelievable because I was in shock that I was like, there's no way I had this for 10 years. It was stuck to a piece of paper. So I don't know if years ago it was subconsciously that I didn't want to look at it or I really didn't see it. I don't know. But I was just sitting there in silence. And, she did not force me to read it, but she gave me that safe place, that safe space that if you want to read it, I will sit here with you over phone while you read it. And to me, that's support, that's love. So I was like, okay. So we grabbed a glass of wine. It was 2 a.m. and I was just sitting there and I started reading it out loud. And it was pretty much in the letter was everything that I thought for the past decade was a lie. It really turned out that my birth mother, she wanted me. She tried to get married. She tried to find a relationship with guys to get married so she can get me back from the orphanage. And at the time, and I think there might have been miscommunication 10 years ago when I was told she didn't want to have a relationship with me. I don't know if that's true, or maybe she changed her mind, or it was always in her head that she wanted me in her life. But yeah, I was very shocked. It was a lot to process. I could not talk about it for a while because, people kept asking me or saying this is everything you've wanted. Why aren't you happy? And I'm like, I am happy. But you have to look at it for a whole 10 years, I had this version of my story that I went off of in my head. And all of a sudden I was basically writing a letter in my journey, my healing journey, in my therapy. I was writing a letter to let her go from my life, to say goodbye to her, because my longing for her was getting to the point where it was unhealthy for me. I was having nightmares and of me calling out to her, and it was just affecting my mental health. So in the middle, right after I write the letter, before I even send it to her, I find a letter that she wrote me 10 years ago. And that's why I'm big on timing. There was a reason that letter entered my life now and not years ago, because it's just a way of saying God, universe, whoever was just saying, it's not your time yet. It's not time to let her go. So thankfully we are in reunion now. We have written a couple letters back and forth, but because of all the work I've done in this community I have, it has helped me process this, because I would not have been able to process this alone. And it's just nice because now I'm doing things I'm holding boundaries for myself of how far I want to go. I have it in my head that, this may not, I don't know where it's going to lead this relationship. It could be beautiful, or it could maybe something could come up that, divides us, or I'm going to find out more stuff. So I have a wall up for my own protection, and I'm writing her at my own pace. But I did write her a letter recently expressing how much pain I was in, thinking she didn't want me in her life and how hard that was for me. And when I tell you, she validated me when she replied, that it felt so amazing to hear that validation from her, because she could have just skipped over and just, disregarded my feelings. But instead, she sat there and every single thing that I wrote, she replied to. And, it was beautiful to know that. So, yeah, and I am talking to my half brother and my half sister again. My half sister just had another baby, so I'm a recent aunt again, to a beautiful baby boy, 2 boys. And yeah, I'm excited, but again, I'm taking it day by day, baby steps with it all.
So when you're corresponding with your birth mother, I know you also have to have those letters translated as well, or just, so you still have that process, so she doesn't speak English?
No, she doesn't. So she writes the letter in Romanian and my brother scans it to me and sends it to me in email because it's faster, because instead of like having to send it through mail, it's just a lot faster with email now. But whenever I get it, I have to give it to a friend and have it translated, and then I can scan it back to him. And then vice versa. When I write the letter, I have to get it translated. And but I think my brother can read English, so he may be able to read it to her.
So in the time when you found her and there was no communication, did she talk about that in her letters? Did you ask, or did you just let that go?
We're only like a couple letters in, so we just kind of started talking. But in also the last letter, or the previous letter to her, I forgave her. And I told her that because she asked me in her first letter to me, like, I hope you don't have any resentment towards me. And just, apologize. So I replied back to her in the letter and said, I forgive you. I do not have any ill feelings towards you. I know what you had to go through was really hard. And I apologize for the pain that you dealt with all these years. And then
surprised to be, I'm sorry, was she
No,
surprised to be found?
Was she what?
Was she surprised to be found?
I think she was surprised to be found again. So I'm sure the first time was like, oh my gosh, because it's that initial, like, my firstborn just found me. So like, that's really big for her. So there may be a lot of rush of emotions. Maybe that's why at the time she was hesitant, who knows? But this time I think maybe, it did make me sad, because like after, she's probably wondering too, for 10 years, I'm sitting there wondering why she didn't want anything to do with me.
Right.
She's probably, I wrote her a letter, why didn't she want anything to do with me? And it was just like, we lost so much time through those years of not talking. But I think, but she did share like how that she broke down and cried when she saw that I forgave her. And she just, that brought me to tears, because it's just, she's very emotional like me. I wear my heart on my sleeves, and I'm very expressive, and I validate people, and she does the exact same thing. And it was just nice to just have that bond right there again. So, but I know going forward, the ball's in my court. I have to write her a letter right now. So I will, ask more questions and, build that relationship with her, that trust.
Now, I think I can speak for many of us that are in reunion. We tell ourselves these stories. When something happens, it could be the smallest detail. We immediately fabricate something in our head that it's the worst possible case. And you automatically go there. It's like, why haven't they written? Why haven't they called? What does this mean? And you start to beat yourself up over and over again and cause yourself additional anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah. I had so many questions and emotions about the rejection, and then the non-rejection, and then like, where do I go from here? And it's still a lot.
And have you talked to us a little bit about since you're from Romania.
Mhm.
You've connected with other adoptees from
Yes.
Romania. Tell us a little bit about that too.
So I connected, my first adoptee that I connected with from Romania is Yael. So yeah, so she is one. And then I connected with a couple other girls from Romania, one guy from Romania, but I've never really connected on a level where like I could like a friendship really formed. And I felt like we've known each other for years. Yael is the one person Romanian who I consider like my sister, and she just like we just formed a bond, and I really adore her, and I love having that connection with her. I have a lot of more Russian adoptee friends than Romanian adoptee friends, and I find that funny, but yeah, I'm still learning little by little. I'll find somebody from Romania, but yeah, not too many.
And speak a little bit to us also, I'll be kind of curious. Talk to us about birth certificates and how that all worked for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I had my birth certificate the whole time. Because my adoptive mom, which I'll show you a picture of this one too. My adoptive mom came, and so she had to come visit the orphanage in Romania right before she adopted me. She had to spend like, I think she was there for about a week or so. She came and visited me at the orphanage, and this is a picture of her holding me. So yeah, so she had to go to the courtroom. She met my birth mother and my maternal grandparents in person at the courtroom, because they would not allow a child out of the country to be adopted without one parent's signature. So my mom had to go there. She met my birth mom, and the lawyer took pictures of my birth mom that day, but it turned out find out he never had film in the camera. So that's why I wasn't able to have pictures of her or my grandparents. But yeah, she got the birth certificate, and I had it growing up. So that was easy. At least I had my birth mother's name. I had where I was born, what my birth date and all. So I think that was easier for the PI to do the investigation, of course.
Did you share with your birth mother the type of work that you're doing now over here in the community with networking with others, and
No, I have not.
you shared any of that with her?
No, like I said, we're very new to
Okay.
our reunion. So I think she's only, between the both of us, we've only written like 2 letters to each other each. So we're just kind of like getting that, that foot in the door conversations of like, sharing with her how I, forgive her, and like just kind of sharing what it's been like not talking. And but I'm sure going forward, once we really get to know each other and form that rapport and that bond, we'll share more with each other. And she did say like there's so much to tell you that I want to share with you, and I told her there's a lot to share with you as well. So I want to like ease into it. And I feel like one day, when that time is right, I'll share to her in the letter of what I'm doing now, of course.
Do you know how adoption has changed in Romania since you were adopted? Or has
So
it?
yeah, that's a good question. So when I was adopted, right before I was adopted in 1990, and right before that, 1989 was the fall of communism. There was a dictator there, Nicolae Ceausescu, and he was just not a good person. Where he, was forcing women to like, get pregnant, have babies, where there was a flood of orphans, like orphans flooding these orphanages. And I was one of them in the orphanage that right after, I think 1990 was I believe was the first year they allowed children out of the country to be adopted. So I was amongst the first year to be allowed out of the country. But I think they banned adoption in Romania. I believe it was in 2000, I don't know if it's like 2011, 2013, like somewhere around that time, they banned adoption in Romania. I don't think the ban has been lifted. I have to honestly look into that, but as of now, I don't think it has been, which that breaks my heart, because there's more children there that's without homes, without families, that are stuck there, that I pray that they can find homes, they can find a family.
Peter, if you don't mind me calling on you out of the blue here, do you know if that ban's been lifted at all? Are you aware of that?
I don't think it has been. There was some changes from the Hague, from my understanding. They went in there and basically organised a bandit, and tried to reform it, because it was so much trafficking going on, so much corruption in that time. And but I don't know the whole. I don't know. But yeah, I have read it. I have spoken to people who know about it. But I can't bring back the memories of exact details.
Yeah, I figured with the work that you're doing, you might have an update for us. So I just thought I'd ask you. Thank you.
No, good.
Okay, that's all my questions, at least for right now. Who has a question for Michelle? Anybody else?
I think I see Peter has his hand up.
While I'm on a roll,
Go for it.
I'm so pleased if you've gone through your story that you have reunited, talking to your brother and your mother, and you do plan on going to Romania. Without going my story, but I found out 4.5 years ago, and I found out my father was Italian. Just over a year after I found out, I went to Italy to visit his grave and reconnected with family. And I had a most wonderful experience soaking up the culture. I spent 6 weeks there, and had COVID not hit, I would have been back there again. But yeah, I just hope you have the same, and I think you will. Regardless what happens, the culture is your culture, and I think you'll really enjoy it, and the food and all that sort of stuff that goes along with it, and how they live their lives. It's my family came from a little poor village, an old village that's basically almost in ruins now. But I understood why my father wanted to go back there. As soon as I went there, I realised why he went back there to die. So I love that. Going back to culture, it's an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing with me. And I am excited to go back. Like I said, when I was rejected, or I thought at the time I was rejected, I just wanted nothing to do with it. People kept asking me, like, are you going to visit? You can still visit and, just visit the country and not have to go see your birth family. And I'm like, but to me, that is hard to do, because, how do you go to your place of birth, where it all started, your first home, and not have that temptation to go search? Because I know, I guarantee if I were there, I would be knocking on her door and be like, why don't you want me? I want to hear it in person. So that's why I decided to just cut all ties and say it's too hard for me to just even visit there, look up, you look at the books I had, look at their photos. So, but yeah, I am excited now going forward that I am in reunion. I just hope this reunion stays really well, and we do get that relationship, because I would love to meet her in person. And I know she said she wants me to come visit, so it would definitely be a different feel of emotions this time around.
I just share a little bit of going back to the village, because I was going back thinking that my father's sister didn't want to know me. I was going back to this village by myself with my wife. And I was in contact with a cousin, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to go there. I know they don't speak much English the further south you go.
Right.
And I'm feeling a bit vulnerable going in there, a stranger going to this village. And my cousin said to me, no. Go and knock on the first door that you come to, they'll know who you are. If you see some children playing in the street, go and talk to them. They'll know who you are.
Oh,
She was correct. Everyone knew who we were. Village is a small place. Everyone talks.
I heard
It's
that.
amazing.
That's amazing.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, let's see what we've got in the chat room. Oh, thank you, Louise, Louise posted some information. Reopened intercountry adoption in 2012, but only to those who were Romanian citizens living abroad. This allows for only limited amounts of international adoption to Romania.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that, Louise.
Yes.
And let's see. Okay. And then let's see. We have another question here about, are you aware of the corruption that's taken place in Romania?
Sadly, I don't. I should learn more, do more research of, Romania, and not just, the food and the language, of course. But I guess because I'm also new back to this again, I definitely want to learn more culturally about it and the corruption, of course. So I do plan on doing that.
And I know I can't speak to that. If there's anyone here that is with us this evening that can, please feel free to address that. I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Robin's got her hand up. Maybe Robin knows something.
Oh, I don't know if you could hear me. I don't know that a lot of details about Romania in particular. I just know that there's been a lot of corruption in international adoption. I know that's one reason Russia, I know there's also political reasons involved, but that's one reason Russia stopped international adoption. A lot of it had to do with trafficking. A lot of it had to do with children that came to America and ended up dead in their adoptive homes. And so, yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's, so that's all I wanted to add. It's just there's a lot of corruption that's gone on in international adoption. And so I think that's one reason that Romania may have closed the door for a while.
Yeah, no, I actually have heard that as well. And it's awful. And I think I did hear also, if it's true, children were being returned.
That's horrible. Yeah, well, that's a whole that happens in adoption, in domestic adoption and international adoption. If you look up secondhand adoptions, there's Facebook pages for secondhand adoptions and rehoming. It's not just for dogs. It's a sad part. I think something like 25% of adoptions, especially from foster care, the older kids, end up rehomed. It's sad. But anyway, thank you for sharing your story. It's been very interesting and enlightening, and it's a lot to learn. And I think it's great that at your age, you're out of the fog, as they call it. I don't think if you're in the fog, I don't think you're in the fog. I found my mom when I was 23 years old, and I kind of closed the door. And it's just in the last 10 or 15 years, I got reconnected with the adoption community and started learning all of this stuff. And so I'm just now starting to, in the last 10 or 15 years come out. And even then, it's only recently I've started to reconnect, attend events like this. And I wish I had done that 30 years ago. So thank you.
No, I absolutely agree with that, Robin. I don't think everybody, when you're in the fog, you don't even know what it is. Once I came out of my fog into my healing journey, really, I would say when I started was early this year. And then once you go into the healing journey, you just I still get triggered. I still have emotions that come up, but the difference is now is, one, I don't suppress it. And two, I don't sit there in confusion either of why something is bothering me. So now when I get triggered, I always say triggers are not setbacks, they're reminders. So I'll be oh, okay, that's something else. Why did that bother me? I'll actually sit and go through that in my head. Why did it get me upset? And I sit and think about it for a while and I'm like, okay, that's something else I need to work on. And that's why, like, you know, healing from trauma, whatever kind of trauma, is so important, and doing that work for yourself, because it's not easy. Like I still battle depression, but honestly, my bad days are not nearly as much anymore. I have a lot better days now. You know, I wake up some mornings where I feel heavy, or I feel, you know, or like certain moments I feel like sad when I see stuff or hear stuff, but it doesn't affect me like it used to anymore. And I also don't fight those feelings. I used to fight so hard and be so hard on myself. Like, why are you so upset? Like, you have to get over this. You should not let it bother you this much. But now I just, like, I allow myself to not be okay, because, you know, I'll say to myself, like, well, maybe this will just be for an hour. You might feel this way. Go do stuff, go hang out with people, you'll feel better. Or if it's going to be a whole day, then it's going to be a whole day. I'm just going to let myself feel however I need to feel, because, like I said, suppressing is not good. It does more damage. And I am the queen of telling people, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine. I had like that poster that I would put up with the smiley face all the time. I could be sobbing in my car and then going to a family party or a family dinner right after that, and just wipe my tears and actually act like I was okay. And nobody had any idea, because I'd be laughing. I'd be like, I would never show anybody how I was feeling, because to me, I thought that was a weakness. And I know it's not weakness at all. Yeah, it's not weak to not be okay. So yeah, that's why I talk about that healing journey. And that's why you have to do it every day. And I have not stopped therapy. I have not stopped doing that, taking time for myself. You know, like I said, because of my community and because I decided to be brave, and share my story and be vulnerable, which is really hard to do. I was able again to really learn to love myself, the good and the bad parts, accept my past, accept what can happen, and again, build that confidence, because that's so important. And which is why I just, you know, you make decisions too with it. And that's another thing with being adopted. I know there's a lot of people, adoptees, non-adoptees, who also suffer with or deal with like issues with self-love and that the feelings of not being worthy. But with adoption, it's like that added layer, because a lot of my decisions were basically revolved around my adoption, because I would stayed in relationship with two guys who were just terrible for me, who broke me, who lowered my self-esteem. And I just felt like if my own birth mother didn't want me, who else will? So I decided to just stay with these guys and just, they were my projects. Like I felt like I needed to fix them. And the problem was I needed to fix myself. And now for the first time, I am actually my friend, Allie, who I shared earlier, my first adoptee friend, she calls it adopting yourself. And I never knew what that was until I started really, and adopting yourself is really taking that time to yourself and just loving yourself and working on yourself. And I choose now to be single because I want to be happy. I want to be okay on my own. I don't want to feel the need where I need someone in my life to validate me anymore. Like I need to do that on my own. And when that time comes, it comes. I'm not, I'll be ready for it, but I'm choosing to be on my own right now to really learn about myself, like discover new things about myself, things that I never had that time to do because I just didn't think I was good enough for it, or I was focused on the toxic people in my life.
I think what was lacking in my therapy 30 years ago is nobody ever mentioned adoption as an issue. Mm-hmm. So I got to work on the other issues in my life, but not the adoption. I got to work on the physical abuse and the emotional abuse and the alcoholic parents. And like you, it's like my own mother doesn't want me, and then my adopted mother didn't want me. Yeah. Who wants me? But I did also, like you, I remained, after 2 failed marriages, remained single and worked on myself and figure, you have to be the right person. It's not just finding the right person, it's being the right person. So trying to heal those issues. But the adoption stuff was still there brewing in the background.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. And I know adoption will always be a part of my life. It will never go away, but you
I
know,
just wasn't aware, I still wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of how much it was still impacting me. And I'm like now figuring that out, thanks to you and you and you and you and you and you, everybody here, you know, how much it was still playing a part and still is playing a part. But I love so many things that you said tonight, what you said about triggers being reminders and so many other things. So I really, really appreciate you sharing everything that you shared tonight.
oh, well, I appreciate you listening and thank you for telling me that.
And, you know, Michelle, I've never heard that expression, adopting oneself. So that, I don't know if anybody else has heard that. Nod your head if you have, but I haven't. Anybody else heard that before? Yeah. And it seems like that obviously is working for you because you're
Yeah.
working on
There's actually a lot of things.
putting yourself.
Exactly. There's a lot of things I heard in the beginning of my healing that I never quite understood until I actually did it. And I'm like, that's what people meant. And it's just so nice to finally understand that and like, and do that for yourself. And that is pretty much, that is really what I want Baby Be Brave to be about. Like, not only uniting the triad, but also, you know, being brave and just, you know, rewriting our narratives and just, you know, to do that, continue to do that inner work, because, you know, once you're in your healing journey, you're in it for life. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because, you know, and just in 1 year, less than a year, I am completely in a different place than I was, you know, a year ago. And just, you know, I like I said, I did the work for myself. I created the platform for people to come and have that safe space to share. I created an adoptee Zoom support group over Zoom once a month where people, adoptees, could come and have that loving and supporting audience of like whatever they're going through. I'm hosting more like adoptee gatherings for us to come together and hang out and see each other. And, you know, I started the IGT live series and working towards the business. So I say, whatever you've been through, you know, that's what I want people to see, like the new generation adoptees coming on Instagram. I want them to see the hope at the end, that yes, what we've been through was horrible. It shouldn't have happened, or we shouldn't have been walked through that journey so alone. But you're not alone. You have such a whole support system out there. So reach out for help. And I want them to see that, yes, there's bad parts, but there's a lot of good parts. You know, the beauty in adoption to me is like that healing, coming out on the other side, doing that work. And that's so important. I want people to see that there is hope in the end.
Well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
Jenny, can I go back to you, Jenny Pinter? I think you made a comment there. You had a question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, and I think it's a hard question. You were very clear, and I'm so impressed at such an early point of your reunion that you can tell her you forgive her. If you have any sort of steps you got through to be able to write that and really mean it and own it with your heart, it's hard for me, really hard. And I know I have to get there. I think it's super important to the healing.
And I'm sorry, because I do know that feeling. It took me a long time to get there. Honestly, again, I guess I'm gonna maybe I'll sound like I'm repeating myself, but because I decided to take that leap into healing and I have a community behind me, I just was able to just see it in a different light. Like before I resented her. I was so mad. I hated her for rejecting me and like, what kind of person is she? Like, and then I question again, like, well, she's the terrible person. I'm 50% of that too. So like, I don't know, honestly, but something inside me just had empathy for her. And I think it's just also because I know how painful it is to walk through life, like being, you know, going through struggles not feeling so heard or understood, not having that support that, that support that is needed, not just regular support, but the support where like I said, where people get you. You find a whole tribe, a community where people just completely get you and they understand. And, and I think also me being a survivor of sexual assault has also given me that empathy, because I, fortunately it did not go to that far. I was able to get away. But, then when I found out about my birth mother and that happened, I had such a rush of emotions that like, if that were me, what would I have done in that situation? And that's what helps me is like, I have to take her away as a birth mother and look at her as a person, as a woman who was young in a culture, a different culture, a different time, very, poor, didn't have support of her parents and all, and just, staying, sheltering with other people to find, to have a home. And it just, I had to give her that empathy, because I can't imagine what it's like to have to go through that. And I know what her decision wasn't easy. And, I would say like, you can't judge a person until you've walked in their shoes. You think you know what you would do, but you don't know until you actually have to do it. And that is what helped me. And I just, at this point in my life, I'm 33 and I'm just tired of being sad. I was tired of holding grudges. I was tired of holding all those horrible emotions of like what could happen or what I wish was happening, to the point where if I stepped up, I did the work, I let her know that it's okay. I don't hold you accountable for something that I don't understand. Then that kind of gave me a little more leeway of like how to, for her to be a part of my life and how to forgive her. Like, and don't get me wrong, by forgiving her doesn't mean that I still don't hold some of those feelings. I still carry that like around me of like, maybe if she tried harder, or maybe this, maybe that, but it's those what ifs that really will kill you. And I'm just tired of saying like doing the what ifs anymore. Of just like, I have to like, she's in my life. There's a reason why this letter came into my life right now, that I'm going to just trust it. I'm going to trust whatever's happening, and I'm going to let whatever is happening happen. But now I have control of what's going to happen going forward.
And keeping her in your life is so much more important than having these ill feelings, right?
Absolutely. Like life, honestly, I know it's cliche, but life is so short and you just never know what could happen. I just don't, I lost 10 years with her. I don't want to lose any more time of, whatever was, and I, whatever can be, I'm going to let it be. So,
and there's a bright future when you have this correspondence. So I really hope you get to meet her and give her a hug. That's my hope.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle, we received another question. Have you given any thought to siblings on your paternal side?
Oh, yes. I was waiting for that question actually. So when I found out, and then I, of course, I don't like to say it this way, but it's true. Like, I looked at my birth father as a rapist. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what if there was more women? Like, was it just her? Were there other women? Do I have other siblings out there that were put up for adoption, that might have been put into an orphanage that was adopted? Or do I have other siblings out there that don't know either what he did or know him? And then as far as I know, when I found out about him 10 years ago, I was just told he was married. He worked in construction, but there was never talk about him having kids. So I don't know if he has children with his wife, but I do think about that all the time. If there were other women, if there are other children out there that I, have siblings on his side as well.
Okay, let's see here. You're getting a lot of compliments.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your talk, your openness. I know, Chris, I think you made some comments earlier too. Let's see, where did I pass that by? Let's see here. All right, Chris, help me out here. I know you put a comment in here about how much you enjoyed. Chris, you want to take yourself off mute? Maybe.
I see his comment, Marcie. It says, Michelle's lives are really good. I've always enjoyed them and was glad to be on one. I'm glad she saves them too and can catch up on them later.
All right, there you go. I
Chris,
didn't want to forget you, Chris.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Michelle before we start to wind down for the evening? No. Oh, Robin has another question. Go ahead, Robin.
I think she's muted.
She is.
So I tried to get Marcie to ask you this. How do you think you'll respond if you or someone reaches out to you from DNA, like ancestry.com, DNA, hey, we're connected, and what do you think your response would be?
Oh, that's a good question. So I did do the Ancestry DNA test, and that was a shocker too, because I'm not all Romanian, even though I was born there. I have apparently I'm half Greek, and then the other half is like mixed with, Romanian. I have a little Russian, Lithuanian. I have a little small percentage of Italian, which I was excited because I was raised by Italians. So, and in the beginning when I had a lot of cousins. I mean, a lot that I was like, oh my gosh, like, why are there so many like people out there, so many cousins? But I did connect with some people, but again, at the time I was still in that fog that I was just so like fixated on just like finding answers and just like not really processing things, that I just was in that excitement mode to find out stuff that but it didn't really go like great. Like we connected, but like nothing really went from it. I tried to ask questions, but nobody seemed to like have the answers for me. So I kind of gave up on that. I have not been on there recently. Once in a while I check it, but I think if somebody reached out to me now, I would know better how to respond. And again, I know like from my own boundaries, how far I want the conversation to go, what I share. And yeah, I think I don't know yet, honestly, until maybe I get an email. We'll see, I'll let you know, but I haven't gotten anybody reaching out to me recently.
Well, it makes me, I've always wondered why somebody hasn't responded when I've sent an email about DNA, and now I'm like, now I think, oh, that's why they didn't respond. I don't think I'm going to push it anymore.
Sometimes I think that everybody is just in their own journey, and it's hard. Like, even though we want the answers, we also have to understand on their end as well. Like, for them to get these responses and these questions, like it could be hard for them. It could be triggering. It could be in a situation where maybe they're not ready to handle that part of their lives. So I come to the conclusion, if I ask a question, if I, with somebody and I don't get the response, I have to put myself in their shoes of like maybe why they're so resistant to answer. And, and then I accept. If I'm not going to get that answer, I just have to accept it. And maybe when the time is right, they'll reach back out to me, or it'll happen. I hope that helped.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions here before we close. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Saracela? Did I say that right?
It's Characella.
Characella.
So where did this letter come from? Like, so, because it's only 10 years old and you're 33, so it's not like it's been there for 30 years.
Right.
So it came from when the original documents from the private investigator, you just didn't see them?
Right. Okay. So 10 years ago, when I went searching at 23, the private investigator found my birth family. He found my birth mom and my siblings. At that time, because I wrote a letter to her and I sent photos as well. So at the time, she wrote me a letter back. That letter that I found recently was her reply to my original letter. But I honestly, that's something that I have been going over in my head and processing myself. Like, how did I have this letter and not know for so long? Like I really honestly, I beat myself up over it. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I didn't talk so much about it in the beginning, because I was very hard on myself. I just basically thought, I was like, I'm so dumb. Like, how could I not know this? Because by me not knowing I had this, not only did I waste 10 years with her, I also put myself through a lot more trauma that I self-sabotaged myself. I, also again, like tried to end my life because of it. It's like what I also, and that's why I was sad, because what I put myself through with it as well. But yeah, that letter was 10 years ago when I went searching for her. And that letter was a response to mine. And then when like the private investigator wrote all the information down, he wrote information of what she told him, like I guess when I was born, like in just I guess like maybe some like family tree and all. It was with that paperwork, and it was like stuck to the back of it. So yeah, it's still something I process it. I still process to this day about it.
Right. Yeah, I was just wondering because I was like, where did this letter come from? I was just trying to figure out the math. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Okay, Sharon, you're the last question. Yeah, you're off mute now. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Michelle, for sharing and being so open with your story. And I'm glad you did Ancestry, but you did not mention MyHeritage. Have you uploaded your raw data from Ancestry into MyHeritage free?
I have not.
Okay, because they have a lot more international, maybe not a lot more, but they do have several from overseas. And it's possible that they would have Romanian. That's, it's free, so you might find more matches that way.
No, I definitely should do that. Thank you.
And with Family Tree, have you done Family Tree? Okay, you can do Family Tree the same way with the raw data from Ancestry, and just get more matches. And GEDmatch, and there's also 3 of them that's free, and you can get a lot more matches.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to try that.
Well, there you go.
If you have any question, there's a lot of people that can help you.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that tip. Okay, Michelle, I'm going to let you have closing comment, and then I have a few little announcements to make. Do you have any closing comment?
I mean, again, I just want to thank you for having me here today. I want to thank everyone who listened, everyone who asked questions, and just taking that time out tonight. But I think, again, it's my biggest piece of advice: do the work for yourself, invest in yourself, and not saying that you're not going to have your bad days through it, but it's very important to just continue on and keep going and reach out for support.
Wise advice. Taking care of you. Don't forget to take care of you.
Not selfish.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, everybody, let's show her the love. Let's do a little virtual round of applause. Get those hands up. Let's show her the love. Come on.
Thank you.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you so much. We've enjoyed having you this evening.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here.
Stay in the seat. And we're going to just have a couple of announcements, and I want to give you talk about a little bit of surprise for next week.
Okay.
Okay, as a reminder, we have David Bull with Adoptee Paths to Recovery this Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. for those of you that participate. And if you haven't joined us, feel free. All these are on our events page, on our Facebook page. There we go. Also that on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Dr. Joyce back with us, putting yourself together after reunion. So you want to, oh, excuse me, not this Tuesday. I stand corrected. I caught myself. She's on the 28th at 6 p.m. Correct, Jennifer?
That is correct.
And David is still this Tuesday at 8:30. Okay.
Correct.
All right, caught myself there.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll drop in the links to those in the chat right now.
And then we have next week's guest. And then I want to tell you.
There you go.
Okay, next week for happy hour, we have Jenny Alpert. She's also known as Cammie. And we're going to learn the reunion story of her finding her birth father, Don. And this is a really interesting story, how the two, father and daughter, have musical connection. And this is their story. So we're in for a treat next Friday. We hope you'll join us and mark your calendars for that as well.
And just so you know, the event is live and people can go register for it now. We expect that one to be very popular.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you mark your calendars for next Friday. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, guys, since we're getting into the holiday season, and the last Fridays of the month are going to be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's. We won't be having happy hour. So next week will be the last one for the year. All of you, I would like to ask, just for fun, if you're planning on attending next week, it's going to be ugly sweater, ugly t-shirt, Friday night, happy hour. So we're going to have a little contest and we'll vote and we're going to have a little giveaway. So everybody bring the bling, bring the ugly, bring the funny, bring whatever you want to do, be as creative as you want, but let's really light up Zoom next Friday night. How's that sound? Okay, let's do that and have some fun. Got a thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Great, wonderful.
And
Okay,
we do have
everybody.
one question, Marcie. Hang on real quick. We have a question about how do we follow up with Michelle if we have questions? What's the best way for them to reach you?
I would say the best way, if they have an Instagram, find me on Instagram, they can contact me through Facebook, or they can email me if they don't have either. It would be team@babybebrave.com.
team@babybebrave.com, and I will drop that in the chat.
But if, like I said, if they do have Instagram, I'm more active on there and I would be able to respond faster. But I do check my Facebook as well.
Yeah, Michelle, if you don't own it already, you ought to start the hashtag adopt yourself.
I think that my friend uses it because that's her podcast name.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But I do love that. I should add it to my
Sure.
my hashtags I use on my posts for sure. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Michelle. We all enjoyed having you. Everybody, we appreciate your continued attendance here every Friday night. We appreciate each and every one of you and look forward to seeing you next Friday. And everybody have a great week, okay? Get those Christmas cards out.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great week.